We need every single frontline healthcare worker healthy and available to treat patients. Toward that end, Oregon's vaccination requirement for healthcare workers will no longer have a testing alternative. Healthcare workers will be required to be fully vaccinated by October 18th or 6 weeks after full FDA approval, whichever is later. In the week since I announced Oregon's original test or vaccination policy, the Delta variant has put enormous pressure on our health systems. There are simply not enough resources to stand up weekly testing systems while also responding to the current crisis. I've also worked closely with healthcare stakeholders on this decision. I am calling on Oregon's hospital administrators to devote additional resources, including federal funds, to support their staffs during current shortfalls. I will provide additional FEMA resources for small and rural hospitals. We cannot afford to lose a single healthcare worker. They certainly deserve our recognition and gratitude for their incredible hard work. As everyone knows, it's also the beginning of back to school season. Oregon schools are opening their doors for full-time, in-person instruction over the next few weeks. I know many parents are anxious about sending their children back to school and back to the school buildings. We've seen school districts in the South being upended by COVID-19, with thousands of students quarantined because they opened without robust safety measures. Our kids need to be in the classroom full-time, 5 days a week. We have to do everything we can to make that happen. As always, in Oregon, we are following science and implementing health and safety protocols. And while we're still learning about the Delta variant, we know from previous experience that when schools open with safety measures in place, the risk of transmission is low. From what we know today, there are 2 keys to keeping our students in classrooms with minimal disruptions. Because children under 12 still are not eligible for vaccination, masks are a critical tool to prevent our kids from getting sick at school. Just as important is ensuring all the adults around our students are fully vaccinated against COVID-19. That's why I've directed the Oregon Health Authority to issue a rule requiring all teachers, educators, support staff, and volunteers in K-12 schools to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Again, by October 18th, or 6 weeks from FDA approval, whichever is later. There are those who will disagree with the actions I'm taking today, but school is starting across the state. COVID-19 poses a threat to our kids, and our kids need to be protected, and they need to be in school.
The governor made no bones about it, Joe. If educators don't get a vaccine, you lose your job.
And it's not just public school teachers and staff. The governor included private schools and charter schools, everybody, kindergarten through 12th grade, and each local district will be responsible for checking out those vaccinations and verifying that the entire staff is vaccinated. They have until October 18th to do that. Right now, the state can't even ask educators if they're vaccinated, but the superintendent of education says it's a fair estimate that more than 70% of the staff have already gotten their shots. Now, this is going to include not only teachers, but bus drivers, coaches, volunteers, even daycare providers. The governor says with most of the COVID hospitalizations today among the unvaccinated, he says it's the unvaccinated people in Washington who are the ones at risk. And the governor says he doesn't want to lose any of those workers.
The work you do is incredibly important. You're talented. We've invested in training with you. It's important to your families to have financial stability. So we really want you to stay in service with us. And that before you would make a decision to depart a career, The one thing I would say is please talk to your physician about this vaccine.
And the reason the governor said that, he followed up by saying that most people just trust their doctor more than they trust politicians. He admitted to that. He also added that 169 million Americans have had the vaccine, and it has shown that vaccines save lives with minimal side effects. He also announced an indoor statewide mask mandate today. Right now, many businesses don't require vaccinated people to wear masks. This all happens pretty quick. It goes into effect Monday, August 23rd. The vaccination deadline for educators to get their shots again is October 18th. Well, the Vancouver School District told us they're still waiting for a little more guidance from the state superintendent's office so they can make a plan to keep track of who's vaccinated and who's not. The Evergreen School District told us they will follow the state health guidelines that come down, and both districts said that applies to masks. And that's not what some parents want to hear. With signs saying things like, "I do not co-parent with the government," dozens of people gathered outside the Evergreen School District offices.
We've spoken with Evergreen School Board, and we've been in front of them, and our message to them is the same as we're telling you. Just leave the kids alone.
To just do more research, look into more statistics, hopefully, and find out a better solution or a compromise to where it's not so one-sided. So people don't just feel like this is their only option. For Washington teachers and bus drivers, coaches, anybody else who works for the school system, there may not be another option when it comes to getting vaccinated. They'll likely get fired if they don't. The state superintendent says more than 70% of certified employees have their shots.
We have some regions that report that it's quite a bit higher than that. And then pretty consistent feedback that slightly less than that for some of our other employee groups.
For this group, they think a lot of people are on their side, just too afraid to say so.
People would rather not have the confrontation. I'm past that. I'm past it.
The state superintendent says that in this case, the districts are the employers, and they will handle keeping track of who's vaccinated and also who may get terminated if it comes to that.